Good morning and welcome to the Championship Saturday edition of the Breeders' Cup Handicapping Show. Joining me in just a minute is going to be international correspondent Sigi Mendoza, and we're going to be going over the Breeders' Cup races. We're going to go over all of the Breeders' Cup races. It's going to be in order, and we're going to start off with the Big Ass Fans Dirt Mile. Then we're going to go to the Filly and Mare Turf, and we're going to work our way all the way through the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Now, Friday, we kicked off the action, over $60 million wagered, and we may have a Kentucky Derby early favorite in Fierceness. He ran them off their feet at 15-1. Some impressive displays of speed by Big Eves on the turf. And then also, we closed it out with an Aidan O'Brien winner on Friday. But today's show, we're going to focus in on Saturday, and later on in the show, we're going to get your best bets, the viewers. We're also going to take some questions. We're going to try to answer some of these Breeders' Cup questions on Saturday morning. And of course, we'll keep an eye out for any scratches. But joining me now on the show this morning, and I believe he is from checking in from Uruguay, Sigi Mendoza. How is it going on Championship Saturday, and where are you checking in from?
Hi, I'm really from Venezuela,
Okay.
But yes, I'm living in Uruguay since 6 years ago.
Okay.
That's a long time.
Yes, that is a long time.
Yes.
So now you're in Venezuela, and what brought the move to Venezuela?
Yes, I moved 6 years ago. Yes, and looking for a best future.
Okay. Now you follow the Dubai World Cup meet. You're part of some handicappers that I believe every day give out picks for Dubai. So you have a lot of experience with knowing some of the Dubai horses. And I wanted to bring you on because you also know a little bit about the South American scene, Chile, Brazil, Valenzuela, some of those South American, what countries have you kind of been to for racetracks in South America?
Uruguay and Argentina.
Okay, so yes. Argentina and Uruguay. And
yes.
So there's been some good Breeders' Cup horses with horses from Argentina. And actually, we've got a good one today, Didia. We'll talk about her in a little bit. But yeah, Sigi Mendoza, you can be finding him on Twitter at Sigi Mendoza. And also, he does some spaces where he talks horse races on big race days. And Sigi Mendoza, I think what he adds here is a little bit of experience with some of the Dubai horses, also some of the international horses. And what's nice is he is bilingual. So I always say that he can pick winners in 2 languages.
Exactly. Yes. We try to beat today, to hit today.
All right. Well, let's get right to it. I know you've got some good selections, I think, and I've taken a look at some of these races. Let's start off with the Big Ass Fans Dirt Mile. I like to say the Big Ass Fans Dirt Mile on that one. And that's going to kick off the Breeders' Cup. It's going to be race number 3 today. And I put up a couple of questions here. Who is going to be the potential pace setter? Because Cody's Wish is a closer. Do you think Zozos goes to the lead, or do you think National Treasure goes to the lead?
No, I think Zozos is going to be sent from that post. And Cody's Wish tends to break slow. Well, I lost a bit of interest in this race since the passing of Practical Move, the scratch of Algiers. Now that's a race that's, at least I've lost a bit of interest. Cody's Wish would be the heavy favorite, for sure, because he's a popular horse, and people want this horse to win. My concern with Cody's Wish is that he's not a 2-turns mile specialist. He can win for sure, but at a very short price. And I think if you want to beat Cody's Wish, with the speed of the speed, I think Zozos would be loose on the lead, and that's the way you can try to beat Cody's Wish. National Treasure has speed, but I don't think he has the natural speed to set the pace. Also, the post position doesn't help.
Now, you mentioned, and I do think it could, it looks like Cody's Wish does run better on one turn versus two turns. And this is a two-turn race at Santa Anita.
Exactly. Sosos also is a one-turn mile specialist, but there is no pace in the race. I think he's going to be loose on the lead and try to wear the field.
Okay. Now let's take a look at the rest of the field. We've got Stage Raider. He's a closer. Practical Move has been scratched. And Cody's Wish, he's a closer. Algiers was scratched. So to me, the only three horses that have speed are Zozos, Charge It, and National Treasure. Now, the one thing, Charge It has ran in some big graded races, and he does have that Dwyer race at a mile that he won by 23 lengths. What do you I mean, Charge It seems to be off form, but he does have a nice win at Gulfstream at a mile, and he broke his maiden at Gulfstream at a mile, and he has the Dwyer. I have no idea kind of what to do with him. I think if he goes to the lead, he could be tough, but I'm not sure he's going to the lead with Zozos.
No, I think he could sit behind Sosos. I think he hasn't the early speed to do with Sosos.
Okay. And then what about National Treasure? He's a grade 1 winner in the Preakness. Any thoughts on National Treasure?
The National Treasure, that was a weird race. He just still the race setting very slow fractions.
Now, the one thing is National Treasure is a cutback. He goes from a couple of mile and an eighth races, a mile and a half, a mile and a quarter. And it looks like they've been working some speed into him, although he always works out good. He could be sitting maybe second. He might make his move a little bit before Cody. I don't think he'll be as far back as Cody early on.
That's a good angle, the cutback, really.
Okay. So yeah, I think that would be his only advantage. And kind of the same with Charge It. He's kind of a cutback horse too, although he does have some good 1 mile races earlier in his career. So let's give out your overall selections on the race. It looks like you're leaning Cody's Wish and Zozos, or no? It was Zozos and is that Cody's Wish and Zozos?
Yes, and Cody's Wish is the most likely winner, but if you want to try to beat him, is with Sosos.
Okay, so Cody's Wish and Zozos are your top two, but you're thinking Zozos is possibly the speed, and Cody's Wish might just be too short of a price. He'll probably be maybe 3 to 5, maybe 4 to 5.
Yes, around that.
Okay. Let's take a look at race number 2. We've got the filly and mare turf. My big question for you, Sigi, is Inspiral has got to stretch out to a mile and a quarter. What do you think of her chances of being able to do that?
Yes, that's a big question. I just think Inspiral is a mile specialist. All his races on the mile. My question is why she's not in the busy mile entered. I was watching her replays, and she tends to break slow. She's a slow breaker. That's why I think Gossen preferred the filly and mare turf, because if you break slow in the mile at Santa Anita, you are done. You can't win over that track. And in the mile and a quarter, you start in a downhill, and Santa Anita is a firmer turf. Probably she can handle the distance. I'm not using her because she has never run the distance, but I think that's the reason he's there and not in the busy mile.
Now, the pace setter could be in Italian. And last year she led all the way around and then she finished second. I think she basically, I don't see anybody that can go with her really early on in this race, can they?
Yes, that's true. And especially at Santa Anita, I think she would handle the distance. Some people would say that this is more distant than last year, but this is a different track. I think At this track, she could handle the distance. She will be the long speed. That's true.
What about Warm Heart? A lot of people are considering Warm Heart. Of course, Aiden O'Brien does well. He picked off a win in that last race yesterday. But you were talking, you thought Speed did really well on Friday in the turf races.
Yes, and well, Warm Heart is the class of the field. I think she's doing very well at Grade 1 races. And I like the connections, like Aiden O'Brien. I think she would be probably the co-favorite with Inspiral. But between Inspiral and Warm Heart, I would prefer Warm Heart.
Talk a little bit about With the Moonlight, Appleby, the trainer, and she has some competitive Grade 1 races.
Yeah, true, but I think she's a step behind the main two, the Warm Heart, Inspiral, and Didia, that I will talk a bit later about her.
Okay. And then another horse from Europe that you may know a little bit about is Lumiere Rock. You've watched some of these races, the replays. Any thoughts on Lumiere Rock as a Euro out of that 11 post?
My main concern with Lumiere Rock is that she would prefer a softer ground. All her racers would were on soft ground, and this is more firmer. That's my concern with her.
Sigi Mendoza from Valenzuela this morning, joining us, talking about some of the European horses, some of the Dubai horses. Of course, he's got experience with some of the Argentina horses. Let's talk about Didia. And you kind of know some of the Argentina form. She has run well since coming over to America.
Yes, she was the champion in Argentina. She won that was a magnificent performance in that day in the Grade 1 at Argentina. And then she moved to America, and I like the work that has been doing Correas with her. She was stepping up in class very slowly, and she's almost unbeaten in America. The only race he lost, that race was a lack of pace, and she was closing fast, but that was too late. And I can't remember the name. There was a Chad Brown filly that won that day, but she's a filly that always try. I like that she won the rodeo drive. That she knows now she knows the track, and probably his number needs to improve a bit, but I think he will be trying very hard in the stretch. I think he could sit behind in Italian. He has speed, some speed.
Smoggington says Diddy has been looking good in all of her workouts, so that's always important that they hold their form this late in the season. Now, I think a lot of people have started to get comfortable with some of the European, I think the European turf courses, there's a lot of rain in France, and you get some of the hillier courses. For those who haven't watched a lot of Argentina replays, are they more flat courses like the US? Do they have the tight turns? Kind of give a layout of where Didia won that Grade 1 in Argentina.
Different is that in Argentina they have a very long stretch. That's the difference with America. But this is a filly that she's not a closer. She can sit behind the speed. And to me, that's not a concern, the short stretch, the American short stretch. But yeah, they have some turns. They are not straight tracks like Europe. The main difference is that the stretch is longer in Argentina than the States.
Let's take a look at your selections. Kind of talk about your top two in the filly and mare turf.
Yes, I'm going with Warm Heart with O'Brien. O'Brien knows to win these races. And my long shot, it's not a long shot. I think he's going to pay 8-1. Is Didia. Didia is a very nice filly. That's a merit now. And yes, she knows now to run in California, and that's an advantage.
Smogington agrees with you. He says only Belmont is anywhere near comparable in the US for some of the different layouts. So that's good. Yeah, it's interesting that it's a long stretch and Argentina. What about Brazil? How do they run their turf races? Do they have a longer stretch, or is the grass longer?
That's another long stretch, and the surface is mainly softer. Yeah, mainly softer than America, and
Okay.
there is also a long stretch.
All right, Philly and Mare Turf, you're going with Warm Heart and Didia. And that one, you're thinking Didia is a little bit more of a price play. You're not really sure if Inspiral can get the 1.25 miles, but she does have some class.
Yes, she has the class, but my concern is that Gosden took the decision based on the mile was too sharp for her. She breaks slow, and in the mile she is done, and
Okay.
then she prefers to run this one.
Let's move along to the Philly and Mare Sprint. This is probably going to be the second biggest favorite of the day behind Cody's Wish. Goodnight Olive won this race last year, and she is trained by Chad Brown. What have you thought about her performances this year? And 7 furlongs seems to be her distance.
I'm okay with her distance, and she had a really nice second behind Echo Zulu last time out. I don't know if that race took a bit of her. That's probably my concern. And the post position is awful. She has a lot of speed besides her. She has Ida clearly on hinge, so probably will show speed. That's why I trying to beat her with Society. I think Society is in really top form, and she became a 7 furlong specialist. She has 3 wins out of 4 starts, and is good not Olive has some troubles at the start. I think Society can take advantage of that and win the race.
I think Uguri is probably at the top of her form right now. She has really put together 3 straight races that are probably the 3 best races of her career.
Yeah, the ones he lost at 7 furlongs, she was returning of a long layoff, returning from her Distaff effort.
Now, the big question I have with Society is 2 of her big blowout victories have been at Charlestown, which is a bull ring. And sometimes horses, if you just get loose on the lead there, can she transfer that form to a 1 mile track? And, those were a little bit not as good of races as a grade 1. They were more of a grade 2 type race.
Yes, that's a good reason. I agree. But he won pretty well at Ellis.
Okay. Now, what about the closers? I kind of like Kirsten Bach's last 2 races. If there's a lot of speed, she could be closing late in this race. And then do you know anything about, you kind of keep track on some of the Japan runners, Maikai Yell, the Japan runner here?
Kirsten Box is the closer, I think. But she needs a pace collapse. Last time out, I remember Ida and clearly on hinge set a very fast fraction, 43 and change.
Okay. And then anything about Maikai Yell, the Japan runner?
No, I think she's overmatched in this spot. I think I don't like her in this spot.
Okay. She's made a lot of money, but a lot of that was turf sprints in Japan.
Yes, true. And now she needs to transfer that to dirt in America. That's not easy.
Now, one of our viewers, Charles B., he says, don't count out Ida. She had a long win streak, about 6 straight wins before losing that last race to Kirsten Bach. She gets blinkers on for the sneaky one, Bob Baffert.
Yes, my only concern is that Ida was facing the same field every time, every month. Now this is a tougher field.
So your top pick is going to be Society. You like the fact that she could possibly be on the lead, and you're hoping that she can maybe get to the rail, and that could cause, if you get another speed horse, Goodnight Olive could get a little bit of traffic trouble.
Exactly. Yeah, I think she will try to win this one, gate to wire, and based on the track, I think she had the advantage.
Let's continue on. Championship Saturday. Sigi Mendoza joining us from Valenzuela, giving us the lowdown on the European runners, also some of the Dubai runners coming up, and he also watches some of the Japan races. And Sigi does Twitter Spaces. His handle is at Sigi Mendoza. If you want to follow him on Twitter, he'll be having some comments today. And let's move along to the turf. This is one of the original Big Seven. And when they started the Breeders' Cup, they had 7 races. Now they have 14 over 2 days. But this race, what I like about it, over the years, you've had fillies win. You've had some of the repeat winners in Goldakova and Miesk. So fillies can win this race. And this year, we've got Modge as one of the big contenders.
Yes, in this rematch, I don't like to hear too much. That's basically because I don't like too much the speedy horses in the BC Mile. It's not easy to win the BC Mile going to the lead. I'm not sure she's going to be in the lead, literally, but she will be near the lead, and I prefer horses that can run from off the pace or favorably placed.
What about Casa Creed? He's a Saratoga lover, but he is a closer, and there could be some pace here. You know, I think they would have liked to run 6.5, but this year the juvenile or the turf sprint is 5 furlongs at Santa Anita, so they entered him in the mile.
Yeah, this is a horse that last year she could run in the BC Mile, but the reason he tried the sprint was because the BC series was at Kineland, and the trainer Mod said she couldn't handle the mile at that track. That's why he tried the sprint. Now at Santa Anita, I think he could handle the distance. I like he's in really top form. He's better with age, but I think he's pretty good at New York. And every time he runs the BC series, he needs to move a bit forward to be competitive. He's a very good horse, I know, but I know he needs to move forward a bit.
Now, Exalted is scratched. That was announced a couple of days ago. I was watching the replays of Songline, and I think among handicappers, some people really like this horse. Some people think this is a potential single. Is there a reason why you're not quite sold that Songline is a total single in this race?
It's not a total single, but she's a legit contender. I think she's the stubborn favorite. She has beat the males at Japan, Grade 1 races. And I see that she can close, and she will have a kind of rabbit in the Japanese Queen Carnelian. Watching his replace, Queen Carnelian is a Nick the Lead type. He will be probably sent of some fast fractions, and that would help Songline to close.
What about Master of the Seas? Lost a head bob to Up to the Mark. Up to the Mark goes to the turf. We'll talk about him later. Master of the Seas dominated the Woodbine Mile, but I thought that was a little bit weaker field this year for a Grade 1.
Yeah, that Woodbine Mile was a short field, and there wasn't a real pace setter. Master of the Seas was always considered 3-4 lengths behind Mother Games. He's not better than Modern Games, and she's a weaker version of that horse. And the post position is really, really tough. I don't like that post position for this race.
So your top selection is going to be, talk about your top 2.
Yes, Charles Spiked. Why Charles Spiked? This horse was second last year in the BC Mile. He was a kind of long shot. After that race, she shipped to Japan. That was a weird move to Japan. He ran 1 mile on dirt. He finished in the middle of the pack. That wasn't a bad effort. Then she moved to Dubai. He ran the Dubai turf, and he ran pretty well there. He was fourth that was over 9 furlongs. After that race, he took a break, and I think his last 2 races were merely a prep for this one. I read in an article his trainer said he was fat to run in the King Edwards. Exactly. He was
That
fat.
ain't good. That ain't good. We can't have fat horses.
Yes, literally, he said the horse was fat for the King Edwards. And he was fourth. He ran well. He improved in the Woodbine Mile. And now this is the third of the cycle. And he's a very talented horse. I think he will find a pace. And he's my bump at 30-1. He's really my bump.
And then Songline is your top selection.
Yes, Songline is the certain favorite, the logical choice. But Church Pace is the bump.
All right. Boy, now we've got trainers fat shaming their horses. So we got to keep an eye out on that, huh? Let's go to the next race in the Breeders' Cup. We've got the Distaff. Of course, we've had some scratches already this week. It looks like Pretty Mischievous was scratched yesterday from the stewards. And I think the biggest question here is, how do we as handicappers look at all of these speed horses? Hoosier Philly likes to go wire to wire. Idiomatic has gone wire to wire. Adari Manor goes wire to wire. Randomize goes wire to wire. What do you think about the pace?
Yes, this is a race that you could expect a crazy result. Let's see. Hoosier Philly from the rail might go. Then you have Randomize, is an in the lead type. Idiomatic wants to go. And the other one is Adar Manor, is another horse that wants to go to the lead. I expect a fast pace. There will be a fast pace. That's why I like a bit Clairiere. Some people would say that Clairiere is off form, but it's likely the same pattern as last year. Last year, she failed in the personal lengthing. She didn't fire the personal lengthing. Then she rebounded fresh in the BC Distaff last year. This is the same. The mare last time out, she didn't like the slope and didn't close. She was empty. Now she will find a dry and a fast firm, and she shipped early to California. That's another thing to take into account.
So you're thinking the closers could maybe have an edge if the pace is fast. Your top 2 picks you just talked about Clairiere and then Desert Dawn, the pride of Arizona.
Yeah, Desert Dawn is a filly that she was third last year in the Kentucky Oaks behind very tough race horses like Secret Oath and Nest. That was a real horse race, a full field with pace. After that race, she's doomed in California because she always run 4, 5 horses field with no pace. And I don't trust those fields. The fields with 4 or 5 horses are not real races. Now she will find pace and a full field. And now I think she will find that pace and she will be able to close. She has been training pretty well. And probably it's not really hard to win, but she's going to run pretty well. If you want to play some exactas, trifectas, you must add her.
Okay. Now the 2 3-year-olds, Wet Paint is the closer, Randomized is the front runner. I do think Wet Paint could run better because there is going to be some pace in this race.
Yes, Wet Paint a closer and will be take advantage of that. My only question with 3 years old is that to win the Distaff, being a 3 years old, you need to be a really good horse. For example, Beholder won the Distaff, Royal Delta, Unstoppable. But if you are a good 3 years old, you are in problems in the Distaff against the olders.
So you're leaning on older. Clairiere is kind of your top selection to rebound. I do like the fact that she went there early and started training. Asmussen seemed to take a few of his horses there early, including Gunite as well. Let's talk about the turf. One of the more I've been following the Breeders' Cup, and somebody mentioned that the Dubai World Cup was a weak field this year. I think this is probably one of the top 2 or 3 turf races we've ever had in Breeders' Cup history. This is the 40th running, one of the original Big 7. We've probably got the 3 of the 5 best 12 furlong horses, a mile and a half horses from Europe. We've got Mostadov, Augusta Rodin, and then a horse that's not getting a lot of love just because of the quick turnaround, but that King of Steel is a nice horse.
Yes, that's the concern. If King Steel ran 15 days ago, 2 weeks ago, and he ran in a very soft ground. That was a very demanding surface, and that quick turnaround would be an issue for him.
What about Ones 2? Ones 2, also another one that's got some classy races on the pedigree.
Ghost Rodan?
Ones 2, the 2 horse, and then we'll talk about August Rodin.
Well, Chariar, the Japanese horse, he failed last time out, but he had a throat surgery. Now they're expecting him to rebound from that poor performance.
August Rodin won some big grade 1s in Europe. Looks like Aidan O'Brien kind of pointed him for this race.
Yes, August Rodin, they are very good, 3 years old. And he's a bad chipper. She's really a bad chipper. He chipped 3 times in Europe, but that was a 2 hours travel. And he lost badly in 2 of them. Now this was a 14, 16 travel. And he can win. I think he has the talent, but I'm really leaning towards the older Mostadov. I think Mostadov has the slight edge in this race. Why Mostadov? Well, Mostadov, he ran pretty well at Saudi Arabia this year. He won easily a grade 2. Then he ran the Shima Classic at Dubai. Then he faced the superstar of Japan, Equinox. You see, he finished 4th, but he was the only horse that tried to win. He only horse that attacked and tried to beat Equinox, and well, he paid the price. But he chickened out. He probably finished 2nd. So that was a really good race. Probably his best distance is 10 furlongs. But I think he can relish the 12 furlongs in America, especially at Santa Anita. Now, like I said before, they start in the downhill, and the firm turf would help him.
So you really like Mostadov. Yeah, a lot of good reasons.
Yes.
Made a move against Equinox, probably the #1 ranked turfer in the world. And then shipper problems with August Rodin. So you're all in on Mostadov. That could be a key if you can get him to beat. I think August Rodin will be a slight favorite over Mostadov, probably.
Yes, probably. Oh, it is pronounced Honesto. Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Honesto. Yep.
Honesto.
I forgot about that.
Yes.
I watched the replays and then I keep on forgetting. Yep, it's Honesto. This guy says he's a bandwagoner on August Rodin. He was entered in the Epsom Derby. Can't go off now. You're going to be going with Mostadov. Let's go to the Breeders' Cup Classic. We've got a 13-horse field originally drawn on Monday, but Arcangelo has been scratched. So that's going to leave. We've got the older horses against the 3-year-olds. The 2 3-year-olds that are going to be looked at the most are Saudi Crown and Arabian Night, but you've also got Dreamlike. And then we've got the older horses. How do you usually play this race with the 3-year-olds and the 4-year-olds, or don't you really look at that when you handicap this race?
Yes, I prefer the olders every time. I really prefer the olders. 3 years old can win, but those are horses like American Pharaoh, Arrogate. really superstars. This is not a really great field, I see. That's why I prefer considering his numbers. I like White Barrio. I think if White Barrio reproduce or duplicate his last race, his winning effort, I think he romps in this race. He repeat those numbers. Arabian Knight is a good horse, I know, but he's very lightly raced, and he probably will face this time some speed duel. I don't know what to do with Saudi Crown. I don't know if he's going to be sent. He probably going to be sent from that post position, and also Derma Sotogaki. I think Lemaire would be a bit aggressive this time. He missed the break, indeed, in the Kentucky Derby. That's why he was in the middle of the pack and finished sixth. But we could see Derma Sotogaki more aggressive this time, especially because he's fresh for this race.
So your top selection based on speed figures. Couple questions for you. Who do you think is going to set the pace between Arabian Night and Saudi Crown?
I think Saudi Crown.
Okay.
Saudi Crown, yes. He only knows to run in the lead. If you see the cheat, the past performance, you would see a horse that only likes to run in front. The only race that he stopped was on his debut on a sprint race. But on 2 turns racing, he always take the lead and try to steal the race, get to wire.
All right. The second question for you is, what about Ushba Tesoro? You know, he had the prep race, but Derma Sotogaki hasn't run since the Kentucky Derby, and Ushba Tesoro had the one prep race since Dubai in March. So even though he's on a long win streak, is that one prep good enough to get him ready for a 1.25 miles?
Well, I don't know what he beat at Japan last month. I don't trust too much his dirt form. Why? I know he won the Dubai World Cup, but that version to me was one of the weakest editions in years. Probably the weaker was when Mystic Guide won. That was on COVID times. Well, in this year, Ushba Tesoro beat Ben Duke. He beat Algiers. And the best American that day was Country Grammar. Country Grammar is a kind of big horse in America. Remember that he lost by 17 lengths to Flight Line. He's not really an elite horse in America. That's my concern. I think this is a tougher field, and he would need a really pace meltdown to win, especially at Santa Anita. At Santa Anita, to close is not easy.
So your top selection in the Classic?
Yes, White Barrio, based on cheat numbers. If he repeats his winning effort, I think there is no race, he romps. And I like Sandom. Why Sandom? Sandom is improving each race. And I know his limit, probably 10 furlongs is better than 9 furlongs. But I trust in the Tory. The Tory would give him a really saving trip, and that would help.
Let's go to the turf, back to mowing the lawn. My top selection, I do have a video preview up. I am going with Arabian Night. I think the battle is going to be won early. If Saudi Crown goes to the lead, I think he can take him a while. I think if Arabian Night goes to the lead, he can take him for a while. I do like Zandon for second, along with Proxy and Saudi Crown if Arabian Night does go wire to wire. But I don't think Arabian Night can come off the pace. So I think he's either going to go wire to wire or he's going to get beat and maybe even run off the board, kind of similar to his Haskell effort. The turf sprint is going to be 5 furlongs this year. Any comments on that?
Well, this is a race to spread. Really tough race. It's a 5 furlongs flat. And I like the speed horses in this race. I think the speed prevails, the speed rules in these kind of races. Yesterday, in the Thor Sprint Juvenile, the speed won the race, the speed of the speed. I think this will be a similar race. That's why I really like horses like Nobles. Noble, who is a very speed horse, and Rose for Debra is not really too speed, the speed of the speed, but she can sit behind the speed horses. You can draw a line to his last race in parts that was really a mess. That was impossible to run in that surface. And also adding Motorius, because he's the local horse. Motorius, like he's trained by D'Amato, and he knows the track. But it's a race to spread. You can go in many directions.
Quick comment. Seems like some people, just the Japan horse, Jasper Crone. Any thoughts on Jasper Crone?
He's another speed horse, exactly. But I don't know really if he can transfer that form to America in this fine furlong race. I would add him in my tickets. And he, that I said, is this a race to spread? Is not an easy race to handicap.
All right. So Motorius, No Balls, and Roses for Deborah are Siggy's 3 spread horses. He says if you're going to go deep in doubles or box race, this is kind of the race to do that. I think 6 furlongs would be better for big invasions. So I question him at 5. And I'm going with Roses for Deborah. I think that last race was raining all day at Pennsylvania. I think her best races have been on a firm courses. So I like Roses for Deborah. The final race this year is going to be the sprint. The classic is not going to be the last race on the day. And Smoggington says Jasper Crone looks fast, but it'll be interesting to see if he comes through with his overseas form. The sprint, always my second favorite race on the card every year is the sprint. American Theorem has been scratched. He was scratched yesterday. The big favorite is Elite Power. He won this race last year at 6-1. He beat Jackie's Warrior. Can Elite Power win 2 in a row? And then some of your other thoughts on the sprint.
Here is my best bet of the card. It is the Calvert. I really like the Chosen Brown. The Chosen Brown really loved this track. He's in a winning streak. And the first time he faced Open Company this year, he beat the best sprinters in California. In that race, the Bing Crosby, he had some issues in the backstretch. He lost some momentum. Then he was able to overcome that. I really like him. He would see behind some speed like Dr. Chibel. I think Dr. Chibel need to be sent from that post. You have Speedboat Beach, another horse that is going to show speed. Go Night probably show speed, but probably behind the 2 I mentioned before. And then the Chosen Brown. The Chosen Brown will be there 3 lengths behind the speed, and we will see him rolling late. I like that she was training really, really well in the training track this recently month.
So the Chosen Brown, the big long win streak, that's going to be your best bet of the day. And of course, you also you like Clairiere. You think she can bounce back. Charles B says he's got Speedboat Beach. Let's get it out there for any of our viewers. Their best bets of the day. So Sigi Mendoza is going with the Chosen Brown. You've also got Clairiere. You think Didia is kind of a long shot in the filly and mare turf, but overall you like Warm Heart. Anything to note about the turf races for running styles you're looking at today, or do you like the East Coast horses? Yesterday they kind of dominated. Any other notes from as we go into Championship Saturday?
Well, only thing that the only place you can beat the Euro horses is Santa Anita, is California. I think this is the place the Americans has more chance to beat the Euro horses. And yeah, that's it.
Okay. So Sigi Mendoza at Sigi Mendoza is your handle. You're going to be on Twitter throughout the day, giving some comments. Of course, you also do some Twitter spaces. I think you have a YouTube channel. Talk about, you do some videos on YouTube you get into it with Carlos, I think, or something like that.
Yes, I started to my YouTube channel in Spanish, and we'll focus in the Kentucky and the road to the Derby next year.
Okay. So you do all your YouTube videos in Spanish, right?
Yes, in Spanish, yes.
All right. So that is good for our bilingual listeners and for people that follow you on your YouTube channel on the road to the Derby. Of course, I do a lot of the Derby preps. And then you also do a lot of public picks for Dubai.
Yes, sometimes in February, in January, February is the season of Dubai.
All right. Charles tuned in and says, thanks for all of your picks today. It's going to be a great championship Saturday. I thought we saw some good performances on Friday. I thought we had a nice effort from Fierceness. I thought the turf races were competitive. Big Eves ran them off their feet. Championship Saturday, we've got Goodnight Olive, we've got Cody's Wish, and we've got Elite Power all trying to become back-to-back winners. And then I think the big matchup in the Classic is you got the 3-year-olds against the older horses, and the fastest speed figure in the race is White Abario. That's going to do it for Sigi Mendoza this morning, joining us from Valenzuela at Sigi Mendoza. Once again, if you want to subscribe to my newsletter, I'm still typing it up, getting it out about an hour before post time of the Breeders' Cup races today with all of my final selections. I do like Roses for Deborah in the turf sprint. I'm leaning towards search results in the Distaff. And the Classic is very competitive. I could see it going either way. I'm reluctantly going with Arabian Night, but if he doesn't get that lead early on, I think he's going to have a hard time winning it. That's going to do it. Thanks a lot for Sigi Mendoza for joining the show on Championship Saturday.